Da-na-da-da, da-na-da-da. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Marilyn Darling Show. And welcome to the first of many episodes of doing calligraphy. Maybe advancing calligraphy, or what shall we call this? Calligraphy practice, calligraphy intermediate level calligraphy. We've had an introduction to calligraphy. This is level 2. Monoline calligraphy can be very useful in case you don't have a flexible instrument. We're going to go over some monoline calligraphy tools here to give you an idea of the things that you can use to do monoline calligraphy with. I'm going to use sparkle gel pen. We'll do a blue one of these. One of these is not quite like the other. You can even use a monoline fountain pen. Can you guess which one of these is not like the other? If you're all sitting there scratching your head, say yes. All right, good. Just making sure. This one here. This is a glue pen. I'm going to show you a really cool thing that we're going to do with this. What is this, you ask? This is a digital pencil. I'm going to use this too. So 3 of these different things are not like the other. Now, for example, I'm going to be using paper that I have already written stuff on in order not to waste paper. So I'm going to use the backs of papers that I've already used. If you have a minimal amount of calligraphy knowledge, you will know that most people will use what is commonly called a guide sheet. I want you to see what happens when we use a paper that already has lines on it and a guide sheet. Can you tell one from the other? I certainly cannot. So, the advice that I would give to you is use something with big enough lines that you won't mistake one for the other. I have one here somewhere. Well, I am just going to use my checkerboard underneath. Now, how do you know that you're working at a 55-degree line? By turning your paper 55 degrees. How do you know what 55 degrees is? So if you took this paper and folded it into a square, folded it into a square, forgot how to make a square for a moment. This would be a 45-degree line. So this would be 45. 45. And this would be about 55. About 55 degrees. So you want the points of the paper perpendicular to where you are sitting. Okay, so you want your paper to be at about that, up and down from you. Now, your hand should naturally rest at the angle of which your downstrokes will happen. And when you pull at yourself, that should be the downstroke. That should be the international line of beauty. Okay. Okay, so when you have would be 0 degrees, this is 90 degrees, and 55 degrees would be about there. So if you turn your paper perpendicular to you, you will see that this is your naturally resting guideline, right? Get used to dragging your pen towards you in that direction. You don't have to be perfect. Grab your piece of paper and drag your pen towards you using that line. And you will naturally have your downstrokes. So this helps with a guide sheet, but if you don't have a guide sheet, you kind of have to make your own 55-degree lines. Practice makes not perfect, but reasonably sustainable. Okay. Upstrokes are the same way. Make your upstrokes with the same direction as your downstrokes. Why are we making these things? Because when you're doing lines and you're doing letters, they all come with downstrokes. They all come with upstrokes. The next one is overturn. You could do them thin or thick. Just make sure that they go up on the same line, around, and come down on the same line. And as long as you're consistent in making those overturns the same width, your work will look really nice. Underturns are the same way, but the opposite. Come down, under, and up. Down, under, and up. Down, under, and up. Mine are not perfect. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not a master of anything. This is just to give you an idea of what the possibilities are. Okay, we're going to move on to a different tool. This was the gel pen. This is the Pilot Friction. You can use a gel pen. The next one is probably the most frustrating, is the oval. Some people start at the top, go over it and come back. Some people start from the side, go up, over, and up. Some people start at the bottom, and some people start at the line, come up, over, around, and up like that. So I guess it just depends on where you are in your word. If you are at the end of your word, you could make it like that, or you could make it like that. Make sure that you have the same, you do the same types of O's all the way over, following that line. You can make your own guide sheets by taking a regular piece of paper and a ruler and a marker or a Sharpie or preferably a monoline tool that's dark, say a black or a marker. Any old marker will do. You might want to have 2 sheets if you're going to use a Sharpie. And just trace each of these lines. I'll try and make them straight. what you can do with this is you can use this as your guide sheet. Only turn it the opposite way. Oops. Okay. You should have the lines pulling towards you and turn your paper so that it's 55 degrees. When you're pulling towards you, you want to make sure that you keep that same angle. The next one that we're going to do is the compound curve. Up, over, down, and up. 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 Now, when you're doing letters from M to N, or from N to Y, or M to Y, you'll have to do a double compound curve. Up, over, down, up, over, down, up. Over, down, up, over, down, up. Up, over, down, up, over, down, up. Oh boy. Somebody got there. Package. All right. So the next thing they're going to learn is the ascending stem loop, which is up, down, up, around, 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 down. This really helps if you have a light box. You can get them pretty cheap on wish.com or Amazon. The next one we're going to learn is the descending stem loop. So this would be your X height. X height, X height. If you're doing a descending stem loop, that means it goes below the baseline. This would be the baseline, baseline, baseline. This would be the waistline or halfway up. And if you're like this, your ascending stem line would be here, or here, or up here. All right, there. So, it depends on where, and your descending stem loop would be the line underneath. Would be the line underneath, depending on where your baseline is. So there is the baseline, the baseline, the x height, the waistline, the ascending line, ascending, ascending, and the descending. So you start on the baseline. You start at the waistline to do a descending stem loop. You go below the baseline, curve around, and come up. If you were to look at these, it's exactly the opposite. And you can see I totally did that one cockeyed. So when you're doing it, make sure that you follow the lines good. If you have a tablet or a light source for showing the lines from underneath, that is always best. So down all the way and then come back up. That would be a descending stem loop. So we have done the upstroke, the downstroke, the overturn, the underturn, the overturn of the compound curve, the double compound curve, the ascending stem loop, and the descending stem loop. Now we're going to do the reverse descending stem loop. These will be helpful for making the cue. The next thing that we're going to do is the K loop. The K loop is basically like an ascending stem loop, but miniaturized. It's only the size of an X height. Okay, So if this were the X height, this would be how big your K loop would be. And then you would finish the K loop by making an underturn up to the waistline. So this might not seem important, but even in the X height, there is the waistline of the X height. You want to make sure that you put that K loop right in the middle, so that way you have even amount of space to do the underturn up to the waistline. Otherwise, you're going to have a wonky looking K. Okay. Are we all together? The next thing that we're going to do is called the S curve. The S curve basically is an upstroke and a backwards shaped J. So it's upstroke and a backwards shaped J. So you want to make sure you come up and then go like a TP perpendicular to your page and then make a J with a little dot, with a little comma dot. Come up, go away from the line, come round, and make a little comma dot. Up, down, comma dot. S. S curve. The next is going to be the R. The R is kind of a tricky letter. R comes up only about 3/4 of the X height. So here is your X height, right? And you'll come up 1/4, halfway, 3/4, come up 3/4, and then above the midline, you'll come down to 3/4, and then an underturn up to the waistline. Okay, and you'll see when I write the letter R, it'll come above the middle, just above the middle of where the word is, where the middle of the word is, letter. Okay, so we come up, come down, underturn, up, stop, down, underturn, up, down, underturn. These might not seem necessary, but they are. Okay. The next thing that we're going to learn is the reverse oval. And when you do the reverse over, you're going to start at the baseline, come up, around, and stop. We're going to call this the P stroke, or the reverse oval. Because you'll come up, you'll do an upstroke, a descending stem loop, and then you'll already be at the baseline, so you'll come up, around, and down. You'll make like a teardrop shape. And then when you're exiting, you'll do an upstroke. You'll have a P. And the next one we're going to do is the E stroke. The E stroke comes out, up, around, basically making the shape of an E. So when you're making the E stroke, you're going to see the middle of the X height. You're going to make an upstroke to the middle of the X height, come out, up, over, around, through the middle of the X height, and then up to the midline. And I think with that, we can start learning the alphabet. Let's do green. So we're going to start with A. And anytime you ever start a letter that is an oval, you only want to go halfway up the X height. Remember, here's your X height. You're going to start your oval on the other side of the oval, come up, over, around, connect the upstroke to the oval, down, around, and up. And then you make an understroke to complete the A. B has a full upstroke, an ascending stem loop. You want to come over just a little bit, connect the top, and then the upstroke. Come all the way down on a straight line to the baseline, and then the reverse oval. So you'll make kind of an upside down teardrop shape, and then an upstroke. Now we're cooking with bacon. All right. The C stroke is basically half of an upstroke and the backside of an E stroke without the little line. We all know how to make a C, right? Make sure that you come from the middle of the line, because if you don't, people will think that you're making another letter. A D has another oval in it, so you come up halfway, make an oval, and then you start above the line where you think that the sides will intersect, and you move just like a half of a dot over, and you make an ascending stem loop. Okay, and then an upstroke. E, we went over the E, over, up, around. F is very complicated. We have an upstroke, an ascending stem loop into a reverse descending stem loop to an upstroke. G is a half of an upstroke, an oval, and a descending regular stem loop, and an upstroke. H is an upstroke. Here's our X height. An ascending stem loop, and a compound curve. I is an upstroke and an underturn with a tittle. That little dot is called a tittle. Okay, so we have a J. A J is an upstroke, a descending stem loop, and an upstroke with a tittle. A K is an upstroke, an ascending stem loop, a K loop. Remember, come halfway through the X height, and then an underturn. An L is an upstroke, an ascending stem loop into an upstroke. M is an overturn, and a compound curve. An N is an overturn and a compound curve. Sorry. Now, there's two different ways you can make M's and N's. You can do an upstroke, a downstroke, an overturn, and a compound curve. Or an upstroke, a downstroke, and a compound curve for an N. O can be done two ways: an upstroke, halfway upstroke, an oval, and a comma dot, or an upstroke, or you can go an upstroke into an oval, through the middle, into an upstroke. A P is an upstroke, a descending stem loop into a reverse oval, into an upstroke. Q is an upstroke, an oval, a reverse descending stem loop, and an upstroke. R is an upstroke, a slant, and an underturn. S is an upstroke, and an S into a J, a backwards oval, and an upstroke. A T is an upstroke, and a very tall underturn, and cross your T. A U is an upstroke, an underturn, and an underturn. A W is an upstroke, an underturn, and a half of an upstroke. Or a comma dot, as some people like to call it. X is kind of a compound curve, but it's an elongated compound curve and a cross. A Y is a compound curve and a descending stem loop and an upstroke. A Z is an overturn into a modified descending stem loop by coming up, over, around, down, into a descending stem loop, into an upstroke. Modified overturn, or maybe even like a modified reverse oval into a modified descending stem loop into an upstroke. Cool? Wow, those are all of the letters put together. Now we're going to put them all together. Shall we do the sentence? Let's do the quick brown fox. Upstroke, underturn, ascending stem loop, compound curve, E-stroke, cross, ascending, upstroke, oval, reverse descending stem loop, upstroke, underturn, C-stroke, ascending stem loop, K-stroke, underturn, tuttle, upstroke, ascending stem loop, reverse oval, upstroke, slant, underturn, oval, comma dot, underturn, comma dot, into an overturn, compound curve. So reverse compound curve into a compound curve. Fox, ascending stem loop. Upstroke, ascending stem loop, reverse descending stem loop, upstroke into an oval, into an X or compound curve, cross, jumps, as upstroke, descending stem loop, upstroke into underturn, reverse compound curve, overturn, compound curve, descending stem loop, reverse oval, S stroke, upstroke, oval, into an overturn, oval into an compound curve, sorry, into an E stroke, into an R stroke, if you ever get confused, do not hesitate to put your X's in. If it helps you, use them. Don't be afraid. The is upstroke, underturn, ascending stem loop, compound curve, E stroke, you might see me stop at the middle of the X height. That's normal. Unless you're being proper, then you come all the way up to the X height. Lazy L. So upstroke, ascending stem loop into an oval, underturn into a Z stroke, descending stem loop into a compound curve. That's a very hard one, with a descending stem loop and an upstroke. A dog is upstroke into an oval, ascending stem loop into an O, into an oval, and a descending stem loop into an upstroke. There we have the saying. Now we've done some monoline calligraphy. But there we have it. I'm gonna do this saying here. Now this is all lowercase capital. This is all lowercase letters. Let's switch inks and we'll go to capital letters. Okay. Capital letters are a beast all on their own. The A, so X height, the A starts at the top, comes down into a comma dot, straight down, and there's your A. B starts with the same universal line of beauty with a comma dot and starts halfway up we'll call it the chest cavity, the neckline down to the midline, all the way up to the header line, to the waistline, around to the baseline. And there's your B. C is the neckline, around up to the header line, down to the baseline, up to the waistline. D, International Line of Beauty. Start at the neckline, down all the way up to the header line, all the way down to the baseline. E looks like this. F, G, start at the chin line, make a horizontal oval, come back up, tie it in a bow, around, down, descending stem loop, upstroke. The G looks very strange. Unless you're doing a cursive G and then you start like that. H, can either look like that, like that, or if you want to get really fancy, you can make it look like that. I is the International Line of Beauty. Start at the chin line, go up through the line, around, down, up, kind of like a snail. And a J is kind of like an I, but bigger. We start at the waistline, go through, up, around, down, and through like a G. Alexa, stop. K can either be look like this, or like this, or like this. L looks like that. M, or N, or O, P, Q is very complicated. You can either make it look like a giant 2, or you can start at the baseline, do a reverse oval, and give it a little tail. R, International Line of Beauty, comma, dot, like that. S is my favorite. It is a fun one. That looks like an S. T, International Line of Beauty, comma, dot, around. U is kind of a fun one too. V kind of looks like a U, but instead of stopping halfway up, you're going to continue. W is either like this, or like that. X is kind of like an H, only much tighter. Or you can do an X like this. A Y is kind of like a U, only you go down and make a descending stem loop into an upstroke. And a Z is just like a small Z, only you start in the middle, come up to the baseline, descending stem loop into an upstroke. Go. Are we all on the same page? Whew. We've done a lot right now. That is a lot of work. We've done all of the alphabets. So, that is our lesson for today. I'm going to end it here. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the little bell, make sure it's set to all, so when I upload new content, YouTube notifies you. If you have any questions, comments about what we've learned here today, please leave those in the comment section below. I will answer them in tomorrow's video. That just leaves me to say, I hope that you guys enjoyed this one, and I will be back very soon with another video, probably Wednesday. So, take care until then. Have a great day. Okay, love you, bye.